Hello car enthusiasts, this is your host Rehan the Car Geek, and today's video has to do with a seriously debatable topic amongst all of us. With Nissan announcing the discontinuation of the GTR R35, some people are very upset about it, while others are like, good riddance. However, I was really disappointed when I found out that Nissan is getting rid of the GTR. In this video, I will be offering my opinion on Nissan's decision to get rid of Godzilla. I will be talking about why this is a suicidal move on Nissan's part, and how they can keep the GTR around since it's such a legendary Japanese sports car. Without any more delaying, let's begin with a little story of our beloved Godzilla. Our beloved GTR R35 began life in 2001 as Nissan's attempt to make a 21st century take on the original Skyline GTR models from 1969 to 2002. This may be sacrilege to some, but the R35 was the first GTR to not have the name Skyline. Even then, the GTR concept car Nissan presented in 2001 sparked interest amongst die-hard sports car fans. The GTR spent the next 6 years being tested at famous racetracks like Laguna Seca in California and the Nürburgring Nordschleife in Germany. Then in 2007, it was time for the birth of a legend. At the 2007 Tokyo Motor Show, a full production model of the GTR was unveiled to the public. Carlos Ghosn, Nissan's now controversial chairman, proudly went up on stage to talk about Nissan's answer to brands like Ferrari and Porsche. The GTR was initially supposed to be a sports car like the previous Skylines. But to give you a perspective of how advanced the GTR was when it came out, it was called a supercar instead of a sports car. Before I get to how advanced the GTR was, let's talk about the engine. It was powered by the follow-up to the legendary RB26D TT, which was a 6-cylinder that was on the R32 through R34 GTRs. This new engine was the VR38D TT, a brand new 3.8-liter twin-turbocharged V6 with 480 horsepower and 430 pounds of torque. It was mated to a 6-speed dual-clutch transmission, or a DCT. For 2008 and 2009, the VR38D TT got a boost to 485 horsepower and 434 pounds of torque. As soon as the GTR came out, that was it. It was so popular when it debuted that Motor Trend named it their Car of the Year in 2009. Nice work, Nissan. Not only did the GTR win awards, but it was revolutionary in terms of its technology and acceleration. The V6 was paired to an impressive all-wheel drive system that attributed to its impressive performance. The GTR initially hit 60 miles per hour in 3.3 seconds, but then, in a couple years, it did it in 2.9 seconds. That's faster than a C6 Corvette ZR1, a BMW M5, a Ford Shelby GT500, and a Dodge Viper GTS. Damn, Nissan, y'all really impressed us. Jeremy Clarkson, one of my all-time favorite people, he had a lot of things to say about the GTR. He admired the ride comfort that the GTR had. In his words, the acceleration was relentless, intoxicating, unbelievable, and amazing. Jeremy even said that he became consumed with the need to try it again. If that doesn't show that Jeremy Clarkson fell in love with Godzilla, I don't know what will. As for the other members of the original Top Gear trio, Richard Hammond and James May, they were blown away by the GTR's capabilities. When May reviewed the GTR in 2012, he said, "I think I should have one of those." As for my favorite funny man of the group, Richard Hammond, he said, "The acceleration is blistering, savage, and face-ripping." To be honest, I think all members of this Top Gear trio should buy a GTR, since they like it a lot. Of course, the GTR has had its ups and downs over the years, particularly the Track Edition. It was criticized for being slower than the GTR Black Edition and the standard GTR. Jeremy Clarkson even called it a tragic conclusion when talking about it in his article. Not to mention that the Track Edition was overpriced at the time. When Motor Trend tested it, they saw that it had terrible understeer at the racetrack, and it paled in comparison to the previous GTRs. However, the GTR Nismo eventually came into the photo, and it redeemed the GTR in my eyes. In case you're not familiar with them, Nismo is Nissan's motorsport or racing division that helped develop the GTR Nismo. The GTR Nismo was now the most powerful GTR of all time. The engine was boosted to a mind-blowing 600 horsepower and 481 pounds of torque. My favorite version of the GTR Nismo is a tie between the 2017 model, the one in the photo, and the current model. I love how it has an angry-looking face on the front and the fender vents on the later Nismo models. But now, let's get into the topic of today's video. Nissan recently announced two send-off models for the R35 GTR. One is the Skyline Edition, which pays tribute to the R34 Skyline GTR, like the one from Too Fast Too Furious, with the iconic Bayside Blue. Another is the T-Spec Takumi Edition. You might be wondering, who or what is the Takumi? They are the people who helped craft the V6 engine that the GTR uses. What's even more impressive is that they built it by hand. They didn't even use a machine. However, in my genuine opinion, this is a suicidal move on Nissan's part. Some of you might be like, why are you saying that? We just want the R36. Well, to all you haters out there, allow me to elaborate. The GTR is a popular car amongst famous people. For instance, the Indian actor John Abraham bought the only Nissan GTR Black Edition in India back in 2016. He has said that the GTR is his favorite since he is a brand ambassador for Nissan. To show you how much he loves this car, on Instagram, John called it his Black Beauty. If there's one thing I can say about John Abraham, he has nice taste in cars. The Stradman, one of my all-time favorite YouTubers, is another famous person who has owned a GTR. He modified it to be the Bug Killer, since he wanted to be quick as or quicker than his Bugatti Veyron. I always loved Strad's GTR. Not only does he have awesome taste in cars, but he is also one of my inspirations. It's a shame that he doesn't own it anymore, but even then, shout out to you, Strad. You're truly one of my idols. To continue my argument, look at the sales chart in America for the GTR. Yes, sales did fluctuate from time to time, but just this year in 2024, Nissan sold the most amount of GTRs, selling close to 6,000 units, in comparison to over 1,000 units in 2008. If this doesn't show you that Nissan is doing a suicidal move by getting rid of one of its moneymakers, you must be living under a rock. Nissan has also been struggling ever since the Carlos Ghosn embezzling scandal in 2018, then the CVT controversy, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Not to mention that we're in a time when the government mandate on EVs are failing. This means that people don't want them anymore, and they just want regular gas cars like the GTR, or self-charging / plug-in hybrids. However, the EV slowdown has led to a bit of a complication. Since global warming is leading to deadlier than usual natural disasters like Hurricane Helene recently, people have been wondering about the major environmental disaster that might happen in the future. Don't get me wrong, I was shocked by the amount of death and destruction that Helene did recently. And that led me to think, since people don't want EVs, how will a climate change / end of the world apocalypse be prevented? The claim from governments that EVs are eco-friendly is technically false. This study from the New York Post revealed that because of their heavier weight than gas cars, EVs like Teslas, Rivians, and Lucids emit more toxic / human killing emissions. But there is a way that I think that Nissan can keep the GTR around, and that way is hybridization instead of full electrification. Since Chevrolet has hybridized the Corvette and Porsche has hybridized the 911, I think Nissan should do the same for the GTR. Nissan should keep the R35 and give it either a self-charging hybrid system like the Corvette or a plug-in hybrid system like the McLaren P1. That way Nissan can make the GTR emissions compliant and satisfy their customers while also reducing their environmental footprint. Nissan should also restyle it on the outside and the inside, since some people are bored of its design. I'm not in that camp. I personally think the hybridization is a good idea, since no one will want to buy a fully electric GTR. Not to mention that the hybrid versions of the 911 and the Corvette are very quick. If Nissan hybridizes the GTR, they can make it a better, faster, and more exciting Godzilla. It will be a car that Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May would be satisfied by. And on that idea for the guys at Nissan, today's video is over. Thank you all for watching this video. Comment below on what you think Nissan should do to keep the GTR around. Remember to subscribe and give my video a like. Thank you very much, and peace out.